Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers, and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
The Dallas Cowboys just detonated a roster bomb that nobody saw coming. And trust me when I say this changes everything heading into their season finale against the New York Giants. We're talking multiple activations, shocking injury reserve moves, and a brand new player hitting that 53-man roster that has fans absolutely losing their minds on social media right now. This is the kind of chaos that makes you wonder what Jerry Jones and the front office are really cooking up behind closed doors, and whether these moves are just about tomorrow's game or something much bigger brewing for the Cowboys' future. Let me paint you the full picture here, because what went down Saturday is the kind of roster shuffle that sends shockwaves through the entire organization. The Cowboys didn't just make one or two moves. They made 7 separate transactions that completely reshaped their depth chart for the final game of what has been, let's be honest, a disappointing season. But here's where it gets interesting. Some of these moves might seem like simple housekeeping for the last game, but when you dig deeper into the details, there are serious implications for the Cowboys' offseason plans and which players might actually have a future in Dallas. First, let's talk about the players who just had their seasons officially ended. The Cowboys placed 3 guys on injured reserve on Saturday, effectively closing the book on their 2024-25 campaigns. Guard T.J. Bass, who had been ruled out for the Giants game, hit IR along with running backs Malik Davis and Javonte Williams. Now, Bass and Davis heading to IR isn't exactly earth-shattering news. These are depth pieces who were already ruled out, and with only one game remaining, putting them on IR just makes administrative sense. But Javonte Williams, that's the move that should have Cowboys Nation standing up and paying attention, because this isn't just about injury management. This is about the end of what might have been the most remarkable comeback story in Dallas this entire season. Javonte Williams came to Dallas on a 1-year, $3 million contract, and what he delivered was nothing short of spectacular. We're talking about a running back who racked up 1,300 yards, averaged 83 yards per game, caught 35 passes, and bulldozed his way to 13 touchdowns. 13 touchdowns. This man was an absolute monster for the Cowboys' ground game, providing the kind of physical running presence that this offense desperately needed. Offensive coordinator Brian Schottenheimer couldn't stop gushing about Williams' impact on the team, calling him pivotal to whatever success Dallas managed to scrape together this year. Schottenheimer even went on record saying he hopes Williams remains a Cowboy for the very, very, very far future. 3 verys for emphasis. You know it's serious when the coordinator's tripling down on his varies. But here's the million-dollar question that should be keeping Cowboys fans up at night. Will Dallas actually re-sign this man? Williams is about to hit free agency, and after putting up those kinds of numbers, you better believe other teams are going to come calling with their checkbooks wide open. The Cowboys have never been shy about letting productive running backs walk out the door. Just ask Tony Pollard, DeMarco Murray, or any number of backs who produced in Dallas only to sign elsewhere. The franchise has this maddening philosophy that running backs are replaceable, that you can just plug in the next guy and get similar production. Sometimes that works. Often it blows up spectacularly in their faces. Williams represents something the Cowboys haven't had in years, a legitimate 3-down workhorse back who can carry the load, catch passes, and finish in the red zone. His 13 touchdowns tied him for among the league leaders at the position, and that kind of goal line efficiency is worth its weight in gold in today's NFL. But will the Cowboys recognize that value and pay the man, or will they go bargain hunting in the draft and free agency, convinced they can find lightning in a bottle with some cheap replacement? History suggests the latter, but hope springs eternal in Cowboys Nation. The smart money says Dallas lets him walk and immediately regrets it by week 3 of next season when they're trotting out some committee of underwhelming backs who can't break a tackle to save their lives. Now let's talk about the players who got activated, because this is where things get really spicy. The Cowboys pulled 2 guys off injured reserve and onto the active roster for tomorrow's game, cornerback Josh Butler and running back Phil Mafah. Butler's return has been anticipated for weeks now. The former undrafted free agent was having a legitimate breakout season last year before tearing his ACL on December 9th, 2024, against the Cincinnati Bengals. That injury ended what was shaping up to be a career-defining year for Butler, who had carved out a real role in Dallas's secondary. He's been cleared medically since Thanksgiving, by his own admission, constantly telling anyone who would listen that he was healthy and ready to go. But the Cowboys held him back, waiting for the right moment. With Trevon Diggs missing this game and Deron Bland also sidelined, the Cowboys' cornerback room looks thinner than Jerry Jones's excuses for another failed season. Butler gets his shot now, nearly a full year after that devastating knee injury, to prove he's still the same player who was making plays before the injury. ACL recoveries are no joke, especially for cornerbacks who rely on explosive change of direction and the ability to flip their hips and run with receivers. Butler's been itching to get back out there, and tomorrow he'll finally get that chance against a Giants receiving corps that, despite New York's terrible record, still has some weapons who can test defensive backs. This is Butler's audition for next season. A strong performance could lock up a roster spot for 2025. A shaky showing might mean his Cowboys career ends Sunday afternoon. But the real intrigue surrounds Phil Mafah, the seventh-round pick out of Clemson, who hasn't played a single snap all season. Mafah was electric during the preseason, racking up 15 carries for 59 yards and a touchdown while showing the kind of versatility that modern NFL running backs need to survive. His blocking was crisp, his running style was physical yet fluid, and he seemed to have that innate ability to find the end zone that you simply cannot teach. Among the non-established running backs in training camp, Mafah actually outperformed the more hyped Jaden Blue, generating serious buzz among coaches and media members watching practice. There was legitimate conversation about Mafah potentially being the RB1 backup before injuries derailed everything. Then the injury bug bit, and Mafah landed on injured reserve before the season even started, sitting there week after week while the Cowboys cycled through various running back combinations. He opened his practice window 2 weeks ago, and this final game represented the last possible chance to activate him before his season would officially end. The Cowboys could have just let him sit, saved the roster spot for someone else, and moved on. Instead, they activated him, which means they see something worth evaluating. Tomorrow, Phil Mafah will make his NFL debut in what is essentially a meaningless game for Dallas, but a massively meaningful game for his own career trajectory. Here's what makes Mafah's situation so fascinating. The Cowboys have a real decision to make at running back this offseason. With Williams likely gone, the position group suddenly looks a lot thinner. Jaden Blue has shown flashes but hasn't seized the opportunity. Malik Davis is depth at best. That means there's genuine playing time available next season for whoever impresses down the stretch and into the offseason program. Mafah's got one game to showcase what he can do against NFL-level competition, one game to prove that the preseason hype was real, one game to show he belongs on the 2025 roster. No pressure, right? The scouting reports on Mafah from Clemson were glowing. This is a running back who brings old-school physicality combined with new-school receiving chops. He can line up in the backfield and run between the tackles, but he's also comfortable split out wide or working as a pass protector in obvious passing situations. That kind of versatility is exactly what the modern NFL demands from the position. If Mafah can translate even 70% of his college production to the pros, the Cowboys might have found themselves a legitimate steal in the 7th round. Tomorrow is his chance to start writing that story. Now, the Cowboys didn't stop there. They also signed Justin Barron to the active roster, and this move might be the most telling of all. Barron, an undrafted free agent out of Syracuse, had been languishing on the practice squad after getting elevated one time earlier this season. He didn't make a huge splash in limited preseason action, tallying just 7 total tackles across 2 games, but the buzz around him during training camp was real. Coaches were complimentary, media members took notice, and there was genuine belief that Barron could develop into a contributor if given the chance. Syracuse might not be an NFL factory, but Barron put together an impressive college career with the Orange, playing 5 seasons from 2020 to 2024. His senior year was particularly productive: 52 solo tackles, 36 assists, 3 passes defended, and 2 sacks. Those are solid numbers for a linebacker in the ACC, showing range, tackling ability, and at least some pass rush capability. The Cowboys clearly saw enough to bring him in as an undrafted free agent, and now with DeMarvion Overshown ruled out for the Giants game, Barron gets elevated to the active roster for what amounts to an extended tryout. Here's where Cowboys fans should get excited. Barron's activation might mean fewer snaps for Kenneth Murray. Anyone who has watched the Cowboys this season knows that Murray has been an absolute disaster at linebacker. The veteran acquisition has been lost in coverage, slow to diagnose plays, and consistently out of position making tackles. He's been such a liability that fans have been screaming for anyone, literally anyone, to take his snaps. Barron represents that anyone. Even if Barron isn't ready for prime time, at least he provides hope that someone new might spark something positive. At worst, he can't possibly be worse than Murray, which is honestly a low bar to clear. Barron's chance comes at the perfect time. The season is cooked, the playoffs are a distant dream, and the coaching staff has every reason to evaluate young players rather than trot out the same veterans who got them into this mess. If Barron can flash even a little bit tomorrow, show some instincts, make a couple of tackles, maybe get pressure on the quarterback, he could position himself for a legitimate roster spot next season. The Cowboys desperately need linebacker help, and finding contributors from the undrafted free agent pool is how successful franchises stay competitive while managing the salary cap. Barron's story tomorrow could be one of those feel-good moments where an underdog seizes his opportunity and changes his career trajectory in a single afternoon. The final roster move was the elevation of Nick Leverett from the practice squad to provide offensive line depth with TJ Bass on injured reserve. This is your standard break glass in case of emergency move. Leverett provides veteran insurance in case something goes catastrophically wrong with the offensive line tomorrow, but the expectation is he'll spend most of the game on the sideline unless multiple injuries force him into action. Still, having that depth is important, even in a meaningless season finale. What does all this mean for tomorrow's game and beyond? The Cowboys are clearly in evaluation mode. They're looking at young players, testing depth pieces, and making decisions about who fits into the 2025 plans. Williams heading to injured reserve likely signals the end of his Dallas tenure, which would be a massive mistake by the front office, but wouldn't be surprising given their track record. Butler and Mafah get chances to prove their health and productivity after long injury absences. Barron gets his shot to show he belongs in the NFL. These are the stories worth watching tomorrow when the Cowboys take the field against the Giants. Quarterback Dak Prescott is reportedly playing despite the game meaning nothing for Dallas's playoff hopes, which is an interesting decision in itself. Some fans want to see Cooper Rush or Trey Lance get the start, protecting Prescott from any potential injury and getting a look at the backup situation. But if Dak plays, you have to think the coaching staff wants to win this game, if only for pride and to avoid finishing the season on a complete disaster note. That means these newly activated players might actually see significant snaps rather than just garbage time cameos. The draft implications are minimal at this point. The Cowboys have locked themselves into a specific range, and one more win or loss won't dramatically alter their draft position. So why not go out and try to win? Why not give Dak some rhythm heading into the offseason? Why not let guys like Mafah and Barron show what they can do in competitive situations? There's literally nothing to lose at this point except another game, and the potential gains from evaluating personnel far outweigh any draft pick considerations. This is the reality of being a Cowboys fan in January 2026, clinging to roster moves and young player evaluations as the only source of hope for the future. The season is dead, buried, and already decomposing. The playoffs will happen without Dallas, again, but somewhere in these roster moves might be the seeds of future success. Maybe Phil Mafah becomes a legitimate contributor. Maybe Josh Butler regains his pre-injury form and locks down a starting corner spot. Maybe Justin Barron develops into a quality linebacker who can actually cover tight ends, unlike Kenneth Murray. These are the possibilities that keep fans coming back, despite the endless cycle of disappointment. The Cowboys face the Giants tomorrow in what amounts to a glorified preseason game with regular season implications only for individual players fighting for their careers. For Cowboys Nation, it's a chance to see what the future might hold to evaluate the young talent, and to desperately hope that someone in this organization has a plan beyond let's run it back with the same core that keeps failing. These roster moves suggest at least some effort to find new blood, develop young players, and maybe, just maybe, build something sustainable. Whether that actually happens remains to be seen. But for now, Cowboys fans can cling to the hope that Phil Mafah's debut or Justin Barron's opportunity might be the start of something special. So here we are, staring down the final game of another disappointing season, watching a team that once again failed to live up to expectations, but these roster moves inject just enough intrigue to make tomorrow's game watchable. Will Mafah flash? Can Butler stay healthy and make plays? Does Barron seize his moment? These questions might not matter for playoff positioning, but they matter tremendously for the Cowboys' future and for the individual players getting their shots. That's what makes the NFL fascinating even when the games don't technically matter. Careers are made and broken in these moments. Futures are determined, and Cowboys fans will be watching, hoping that somewhere in these roster moves lies the answer to finally breaking through and building a consistent winner. Now it's your turn. What do you think about these moves? Will the Cowboys actually re-sign Javonte Williams or let him walk like they've done with so many productive running backs before? Can Phil Mafah make an impact in his NFL debut? Is Josh Butler still the same player after that brutal ACL injury? Drop your thoughts in the comments below because I want to hear what Cowboys Nation thinks about this roster chaos. And if you're not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? We're less than 60 subscribers away from hitting 12,000, and we bring you daily Cowboys coverage, breaking down every move, every game, and every bit of drama surrounding America's team. Hit that subscribe button, smash the like button if you enjoyed this deep dive, and let's ride this Cowboys roller coaster together into the offseason and beyond.
Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers, and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.